You're watching VinylicPumaGaming. What's up, guys? So, it's been a little while since I made any videos on weapon mods for Borderlands 2. Ultimately, I wanted to wait a little bit for the community to come up with some more mods, and lately, it seems like there have been a lot of really great mods that have been coming out. So, I figured that we could go over 10 of my favorites. Now, before we get into this particular video, I'm trying to go for some variety here. So you'll see ported weapons from Borderlands 1 or the pre-sequel. You'll see some practical as well as overpowered weapon mods. And you will also see a couple of awesome spectacle type weapons as well. I'm also including one mod from one mod author, so you won't see multiple mods from just one or two people, and I'm also trying to get a diversity of weapon types so you don't just see all SMG or sniper mods on this particular video. Now, without further ado, these will be what I think are some of the best, or at the very least, some of the most fun community patch gun and weapon mods for Borderlands 2. And let's go ahead and start with number 10, and that's going to be the Replenisher Relic mod by Aaron_0. Now, I know this isn't a weapon mod per se, however, I think it's both one of the most simple and convenient mods that I'm somewhat surprised Gearbox never added to either Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel. Now, the Replenisher Relic ultimately just allows any character to regenerate ammo, independent of things like Salvador's Gunzerking action skill or Salvador's Hoarder class mod. Now, this mod replaces the Afterburner Relic, which is usually a relic that no one ever uses simply because it's only effective while you're in a vehicle. So you won't really have to worry about doing without one of your other great relics like the Sheriff's Badge, Bone of the Ancients, Deputy's Badge, or something else like that. The ability to regenerate ammo on all of the characters is a really awesome ability, and while this doesn't work with rocket launchers, it does make weapons with higher ammo consumption much more practical on all of the other Vault Hunters. I would assume that you can get this particular relic in the game upon completing Positive Self-Image in the Dust as a quest reward that you turn into Ellie, much like you would get the Afterburner Relic. Number 9, the Vengeance Pistol mod by Xminger. Now, if you've played Borderlands 1, there is a Vladov pistol in that game called the Vengeance. It was slated to be a really cool weapon with the ability to bypass shields. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, the game released and the ability to bypass shields was bugged and didn't work. And given how Borderlands 1 is almost 8 years old, it's unlikely that this would be fixed in the future, which is definitely a shame. However, Xminger has managed to port this weapon to Borderlands 2 as a replacement mod for the game's Veritas pistol. Xminger has also managed to include the bypass shields ability, basically turning this gun into an above-average anarchist pistol with the ability to bypass shields. This ends up being quite powerful and allows the player to deal a lot of damage. It really makes you think about how good this weapon could have been in Borderlands 1 if Gearbox took the time to iron out the bugs with the Vengeance, as this modded version for Borderlands 2 is quite powerful and will pretty much steamroll most enemies. As far as I'm aware, you can acquire the Vengeance pistol in the same way that you can get the Veritas pistol in Borderlands 2. So you will need to complete the side quest called Clan War Wakey Wakey in the Dust. Number 8, the Golden Flamethrower mod by Tsunami7900. This is a replacement mod for the Hellfire that attempts to act like a flamethrower. While there isn't a flamethrower type projectile asset in Borderlands 2, I still think this particular mod is pretty neat since it reminds me of the heavy incinerator weapon from Fallout 3, which fires balls of flame as opposed to a jet of flame at enemies. As you can probably tell from the gameplay, this particular weapon is pretty OP against anything that is vulnerable to fire-type damage. Whether they have physical shields, energy shields, or neither of these things, the Golden Flamethrower just tears right through enemies like butter. And what's also nice is that this weapon regenerates SMG ammo for the player. Now, my only complaint is that I wish the Golden Flamethrower had its own really cool unique weapon skin. As you have already seen and will continue to see with many of the other guns on this list, all of them have really cool skin designs, and it would be cool if Tsunami upgraded his own weapon to have a better looking weapon skin. I like how the weapon functions, but it would be nice to see a weapon mod not have a weapon skin ported from another weapon that isn't an SMG. Otherwise, I really like this mod. To get it in-game, you can acquire it like you would the Hellfire, which means you're going to have to kill Scorch in Frostburn Canyon. Number 7. the Elysium Plasmacaster mod by CMD Obvious. So the Elysium Plasmacaster mod replaces the Doll Emperor SMG with something that I think we will end up agreeing is far better. As you can probably tell from looking at the weapon, this is an E-Tech style legendary that has a quasi-Malouan type skin with Doll written on the side where the magazine enters the weapon. And as the red text implies, the Elysium Plasmacaster fires like a shotgun while aiming down sights, as opposed to burst firing like most other Doll weapons. Otherwise, while hip firing, you're getting basically the same firing pattern that you might expect out of an E-Tech Plasmacaster from Doll or any of the other manufacturers. As you can see from the gameplay, this Plasmacaster is relatively overpowered and pretty much just wrecks whatever is in front of you while aiming down the sights. Even still, I really like the different firing configuration that you can get from switching from hip firing to aiming down sights. So one moment you can run and gun, and then if you need some more power, you just quickly aim down the sight and then shoot at the enemy. I would assume you can get this from the various assassins in Southpaw Steam and Power, like you can for the legit Doll Emperor. And as far as I'm aware, there are no conflicts with sanity checks or anything like that, so you should be good to go if you simply install the text from this mod page into your patch file. Number 6, the Kaneda's Laser Rocket Launcher port by Dave. Now, the mod author for this particular mod has made several different resources over on the Borderlands 2 community patch GitHub page that a lot of modders have used. And he also has some other interesting mods like a pistol that shoots singularity grenades and some other really interesting weapons like the Supremacy and Singing Bird sniper rifles. However, I figured I would include his take on the Kaneda's Laser Rocket Launcher that appears in Borderlands the pre-sequel. Now, if you haven't played the pre-sequel before, Kaneda's Laser is a rocket launcher that would fire laser projectiles that deal explosive damage when they come into contact with enemies. Also, unlike most other rocket launchers in either Borderlands 2 or the pre-sequel, Kaneda's Laser has the ability to crit, and critical hits from this thing are really deadly to most mob-type enemies. In general, it should probably go without saying, but this particular mod is a massive improvement over the Bunny rocket launcher. And while you're getting an E-Tech sniper projectile as opposed to the laser projectile from the pre-sequel, and the skin looks a little bit different, I still like Dave's take on this particular weapon. And in a certain sense, you could say that Dave's Kaneda laser skin looks better than the version that we saw in the pre-sequel. If you want one of these, you can simply get one of these like you would the Bunny rocket launcher in Borderlands 2 by killing a chubby type enemy or just getting it randomly from any suitable loot source. Number 5, the Newfoundlands mod by Angrier Pat. This mod is essentially a direct replacement and improvement of the original Deliverer shotgun from Borderlands 2. Instead of spawning one shotgun which targets enemies, this version throws 5 on reload, which seek out enemies and fire shotgun shells continuously until they explode in the enemy's face. I think you'll find that in general, the Newfoundland's shotgun is much more fun to use than the original Deliverer shotgun is, simply because it deals a lot more damage. This mod also modifies the existing weapon skin. Now, I could be wrong on this, but it looks like Angrier Pat took the Torg Rock Gemstone skin and mixed it with the Flying Teeth decal that we see on green Rarity Banded assault rifles, and then changed the colors a little bit. Overall, I think this is a really nice look for the shotgun and is once again a major improvement over the original Deliverer. This is a pretty fun mod to mess around with, as you can simply fire and quickly reload over and over again, and the game seemingly starts to play itself to a certain extent. While you may have some issues with ammo, there's always the replenisher relic mod that I discussed earlier on in this particular video, and that will solve your ammo problems. Now, if you want one of these, there's actually a different drop location for it. Now, if you copy all of the code from the mod page, it's going to drop from the Wattle Gobbler. Otherwise, it should just drop from Tumba like it normally would in Wildlife Exploitation Preserve. Number 4, the Radiator pistol mod by It's Cool Dude. So this is a really slick corrosive pistol mod that has capacitors that tend to glow a much darker green color than what you might see on other corrosive capacitors found on other weapons. You're also getting some neat green outlines on this gun, and you're getting a nice looking green tint to the weapon skin, which makes the gun look really sweet in my opinion. In terms of function, this weapon fires E-Tech sniper projectiles relatively slow while aiming down sights, and fires semi-automatic like most other doll pistols while hip firing. According to the text file for this particular weapon, the radiator can also infect enemies around it with an additional corrosive effect, which is reminiscent of what you might see on the teapot pistol. Otherwise, this weapon deals an impressive amount of damage from the initial projectile. Now, I don't think this is too insanely overpowered, and is balanced in a way to where the time to kill is pretty quick on most loaders. However, on much tougher enemies like Saturn, it still can take a little while to kill him while just using the irradiator on its own. I also really like what It's Cool Dude did with the projectiles on this weapon. From what I can tell, it looks like they modified the E-Tech pistol projectiles and then combined them in some way with E-Tech sniper projectiles to get this really cool and smooth looking green laser-like projectile. The irradiator is a replacement of the Hornet, and I suspect that you'd acquire it in the same way. You will need to go to Claptrap's place near the southern shelf and kill Knuckle Dragger to get one. Number 3. The Ajax Ogre mod by Alex166K. This is another gun that I'm pretty sure a lot of you will recognize from Borderlands 1, and that is the Ajax Ogre Assault Rifle from Atlas. Since Atlas doesn't exist in this game, this weapon is now associated with Doll, and unlike the official Borderlands 2 version, the Ajax Ogre mod doesn't have a spinning gun barrel, and thus doesn't require any wind-up time like the original. As far as I'm aware, it looks like 2 people worked on this mod, as Alex166K credits Left Strafe for the original design. Regardless of who did what, I really like this mod and how it can modify your existing weapon prefixes for assault rifles to match what you see in Borderlands 1. It's pretty neat to have more tactical weapon prefixes as opposed to something like the Slippery Blaster, and to instead have something like the AR-590 Ogre or the AR-298 Seraphim. As for the weapon itself, it's gloriously overpowered. Like the original Ajax Ogre, you're getting great recoil, accuracy, fire rate, and most importantly, awesome damage output. Now, this weapon is a replacement of the Doll Scorpio Assault Rifle, which is a gun you can receive after completing the side quest called Bearer of Bad News. The page for this mod doesn't mention that it changes the loot pool of the weapon, so I would assume that you're going to be able to get it that way. Number 2, the Crimson One-Shot Sniper mod by Yorm. One type of sniper I've always felt that Borderlands 2 was missing was a true anti-material rifle, or something that deals a ridiculous amount of damage in just one shot. As you've probably picked up on at this point, the one-shot sniper deals an insane amount of damage in just one shot, and for most mob enemies, including ultra badasses, the one-shot sniper should kill them in just one shot. From my experience, this sniper deals near damage cap levels of damage, which is absolutely ridiculous when you consider that this gun is doing this without the need of things like Zero's Critical Ascension, which greatly boosts things like sniper rifle base damage and critical hit damage, provided that you have enough stacks. My only complaint about this weapon is that the reload speed is a little too slow for me personally. Now, I know that this is sort of the point of this weapon to a certain extent, however, I think if the reload speed was a little bit higher, it would be a little more practical for consistent use while mobbing. Now, the One-Shot Sniper by Yorm is a replacement mod for the Invader Sniper Rifle, and I suspect that you get it in much the same way. To get this gun, you will need to defeat Saturn located in the Arid Nexus Badlands. Number 1. The HAL 9001 Shotgun by 00 Schmidt. While this weapon may not be the most powerful weapon mod on this list, it is probably one of, if not the coolest. This gun is based on the Shotgun 1340, which talks to the player while you use it. However, I think the coolest part about this weapon is how the projectiles interact with surfaces. You're getting E-Tech sniper-type projectiles that can ricochet off of various surfaces, and I think you'll find that this works wonders in indoor areas like Bloodshot Stronghold or Southpaw Steam and Power. In fact, if you fire this gun enough, you can get these crazy light shows that fly across your screen, and occasionally the projectiles can glitch out and travel indefinitely, which creates this really cool effect on certain surfaces. This tends to work best inside though, where your weapons can ricochet off of ceilings. Otherwise, the projectiles have a tendency to fly up in the air, never to be seen again. At the same time, you may find that this particular weapon is a little distracting indoors, since you're probably going to be spending most of your time creating light shows rather than fighting enemies. But damage-wise, the HAL 9001 is fairly powerful and should take care of most mob-type enemies. Like the Shotgun 1340, I believe the HAL 9001 is acquired the same way, as the mod's GitHub page makes no mention of changing the loot pool or anything like that. So you'll need to complete the side quest called Out of Body Experience, which starts in Bloodshot Stronghold, continues on to Bloodshot Ramparts, and finally ends in Sanctuary. In Sanctuary, make sure you bring the AI core to Marcus to get the Shotgun 1340 or the HAL 9001. Alright guys, that's going to pretty much wrap up this particular video. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like and let me know. What is your favorite community patch mod? Leave it down in the comments. Otherwise, like this video if you liked it, click the bell to join the notification squad, and as always, take care, and I'll see y'all next time.